Hi all. I'm gonna review today The Phantom Thread by P.T. Anderson, directed by P.T. Anderson. Okay, I'm just gonna say that I'm just gonna give it a rating, like right off the bat. I'm giving it 2.5 stars out of 4, maybe 3, but no, my official one it will be 2.5 out of 4. Anyway, thing about this movie, it was well done. Obviously, P.T. Anderson is pretty much always good, makes good technical pictures. But the problem with this film, for me personally, was the end of the film. And yes, there will be spoilers in this review. Uh, you could say I created my own movie in my head, and I thought of a better ending in my head. And you know, maybe it's my fault that I didn't uh, take the movie on its own terms. But personally, even though some people have said that, oh, it was hinted at, throughout the movie that this is where it was gonna end. Like what it ultimately is, if you take that interpretation as being the correct interpretation, is that this is personally, yeah, it, for me was what it's a sadomasochistic love story. Like Reynolds Woodcock is basically he, I guess he enjoys being poisoned by his wife, essentially. That was kind of like, I mean, the ending. That's one interpretation for the ending of the movie. And yeah, if that was the case, it's like that's I don't find that like such an interesting idea. I was expecting something more, and ultimately I had my own, like I said, my own ending in my head, and I thought that's where the movie was going, and then it's like, oh, a sadomasochistic love story. Um, yeah, no, I was expecting more, I suppose. But anyway, to I can pretty much recap the story. Um, you know, basically this character Reynold Woodcock, he's like is a fashion designer, famous fashion designers around I guess the 1950s, and he is a perfectionist, and he's obsessed and only essentially only focused on making the best fashion dresses that he can make. And that's why at the start of the movie, his relationship with his current wife is not very good, and pretty much they break up, and then he goes and meets this waitress, who will be our other main character in the film, and yeah, like basically they go to his, they date, they go on a date, they go to his place, and essentially, yeah, nothing happens. All that happens is he starts designing a dress for her, but the relationship continues to develop and grow, and you know, in the beginning, I guess it's a little bit better, but ultimately, you know, he is who he is. He's a control freak that wants things to be, just the way he wants them to be, and obviously problems start to emerge as a result of that. Unlike maybe other characters in the film, the character, the female character, whose name I should say at this point, Alma, she, essentially, like, she's not like other passive characters. She's not passive. She essentially fights back against, you know, um, Reynolds, in the sense that she doesn't allow Reynolds to have his say all the time. She fights back a little bit. Ultimately, she is so annoyed by Reynolds' ways that she decides to poison Reynolds. To poison him with, I guess it was some kind of mushroom, maybe Amanita muscaria, I don't know, which is apparently a mushroom that it's apparently psychedelic, but it's it's also poisonous, toxic. So yeah, so he gets sick for the first time, and she tends to him and helps him and all that, and he recovers, and he has this vision while he's sick of his mother, who apparently, he misses a lot and all that, and maybe maybe an inspiration. The mother was an inspiration for his work, because the mother taught him, all he knows, or a lot of what he knew. So he has this vision, he recovers, and then after he has recovered, he decides, hey, I want to marry you. He tells Alma, I want to marry you. And they get married, and it's kind of good for a little while, but again, once again, the control freakish nature of Reynolds, happens again. He tries to be somewhat flexible once in a while, but ultimately problems emerge again, and I think there's a scene where he's complaining to his sister about Alma and how he had made a huge mistake in marrying her, and she is, basically, and she's overhearing this. She is to the back of him, and basically hears everything, and then he realizes that she's heard everything, but whatever. Like, he is what he is. He knows who he is. He's like, I want things my way, and then, hey, if you don't want to be here, then you don't have to be here. That's essentially the way he thinks about things. But Alma also has a strong personality, and ultimately she decides to once again poison Reynolds. But this time with the mushroom. But this time, I think she puts a lot more this time. And in addition to that, when he's eating the food, he realizes, oh, I'm being poisoned, or whatever. Yeah. So he realizes this and smiles and whatnot, and then, at this point, I guess you could have two interpretations for the film. The first interpretation is the most likely one. It's a sadomasochistic love story, which, to me, that's kind of stupid. Well, who cares? Whatever. Anyway, that's probably the most likely interpretation. The second interpretation is that actually, on the second time that Reynolds was poisoned, he died. And everything that happens after that is a fantasy from Alma. And I think this is a possibility because there's a scene in the film where she is envisioning having kids with Reynolds. It's like a future vision. It's not presented as in terms of it actually is happening. It's like a future vision. So maybe that suggests that Reynolds died and she is fantasizing about all this. But not that's not such a likely or believable interpretation, and there's not enough hints to believably take that interpretation and believe that it's what happened. I thought it might initially at one point I thought that might be the interpretation, correct, but it's not likely because the director, you would think the director had probably put more hints for that to be the case. So it's probably the sadomasochistic love story interpretation that's correct. So if that's the case, then I was expecting more. Having said all that, all the way up to the end, the film, I was into it, and I thought, this is, like pretty much all P.D. Anderson films, excellently directed, great cinematography, great acting, obviously, by Daniel Day-Lewis, and the other actress, I think her name is Vicky, wait, 1 second. Vicky Cripps, I believe that's her name, but if I'm wrong, my bad. Anyway, point is, great film technically. I was into it all the way up to the end. And interesting characters, but ultimately, the ending kind of let me down because of the reasons that I just stated. Where I thought the movie was going, I thought, the first scene in the movie is her pretty much describing her relationship with Reynolds to a doctor. right? To I guess a friend of hers, whatever, doctor. And I thought, the ending was gonna be simply, her reminiscing about this love story that did not work out, and at that point maybe Reynolds had already, had passed away, um, and from natural causes, whatever, and that was, what I thought the movie was going. It was just like a reminiscent of a love story that didn't work out, and a kind of capturing, depiction of an interesting character like that. And I thought, that would have been an interesting way to go. It's like elegiac, whatever the term is. Yeah, basically, that's where I thought it was going. But nope, seems like it's not where it was going. But it's just I just think an ending like sadomasochistic love story. It's like that's not interesting enough for me. And it's some people say, oh, there were some hints placed throughout the film, but not. I mean, doesn't even if there were hints placed throughout the film, it's still not that interesting. It's not. I think the movie was. There were other things the movie was trying to like maybe suggest or did not communicate it well in terms of this is where we're going with this film. This is the type of film it is, and then the last 10 minutes of the film, no, it's this other completely different thing. I don't think it was the execution it was not done well. It did not work in that sense. So that's why I'm giving the film a 2.5 out of 4. It's got some very good things in it, and like I said, the cinematography is great. And I think the P.T. Anderson is obviously a great director. Boogie Nights, Hard Eight, Boogie Nights, There Will Be Blood, Punch Drunk Love. Those are some of my favorites of his. I wasn't crazy about The Master. I wasn't crazy about Inherent Vice. So I guess his last couple of films, they've been okay. I mean, obviously, always technically they're always great. And this one was almost, I would say almost perfect. It's just that ending, I didn't like it. But anyway, I'm sure he'll continue to make great movies. I have no doubt about that. But anyway, I guess that's pretty much the movie review, and see you guys later. Bye.